not waste much time because indeed time is of the essence. So allow me to hand over to the Honorable Minister.
Thank you very much, Ayanda, and the MMC in Johannesburg, the Chief Executive Officer of RTMC, the Chairperson of the Board, and members of the Board, ladies and gentlemen of the media, and officials from the Department of Transport and entities. Let me first start with a disclaimer before some of you come to me and say happy birthday. It's not my birthday today. I was born on the 1st of April. I'm an April Fool person. So on the 1st of April, I was born. And when we went to register at the Home Affairs, there was a mix-up there. So that is why my name is Fikile Mbalula. So that name come from that particular background. Secondly, I wish to thank you for all your well wishes last week. But secondly, I wish to apologize. It's not just an event. We are running a parallel conference from this event, which is annual. It is a national aviation conference, and it's been conducted virtually. So sorry for coming in late. We had to finish that business, which is not yet finished. From here, we will probably go back there or fulfill some of our responsibilities. Today, as we officially release the 2021 Easter Arrive Alive safety statistics, we are conscious of the fact that road crashes affect the poor and vulnerable disproportionately, more than any other group in society. It is this class of people that we generally find walking on the freeways in an attempt to access opportunities that are not available in their own residential areas. It is this group that commutes between their homesteads in rural areas and cities in search of opportunities and a better life. Regrettably, many of them die on the roads without realizing their dreams and aspirations. At midnight on Monday, 5th April 2021, we marked the end of our intensified law enforcement Easter campaign. However, the Arrive Alive education and awareness campaign will continue in preparation for the forthcoming Freedom Day and May Day long weekends. Although we have taken a decision to ensure that we make road safety a 365-day business, it is inevitable that we intensify our efforts over the long weekends and when we approach the peak traveling periods such as the festive season and Easter weekend. This is because there is a remarkable rise in traffic volumes during these periods and increase the risk to life and limb of South Africans. Preliminary figures show that we experienced an increase in traffic volumes along major arterial routes leading out of Gauteng and back. The N1 north to Limpopo, the N3 towards KwaZulu-Natal and the N4 towards Mpumalanga were particularly busy. This happened despite the fact that the Easter weekend did not overlap with school holidays this year and religious pilgrimages to major churches that attract masses of the people due to COVID restrictions. The N3 recorded the highest volume of traffic with 1,143 vehicles traveling through various toll gates on this route. The N1, N4 followed with a total of 573 vehicles passing through toll gates between Gauteng, Limpopo, and the Northwest. The N1 South between Gauteng through the Free State to the Western Cape recorded 64,001 vehicles, while 14,864 vehicles were registered on the N2 in KwaZulu-Natal. While the public focus is around the number of fatalities recorded over this period, it is important to make an assessment of the assessment within which these crashes occur and to understand each road user's responsibility. The carnage we continue to experience on our roads is influenced by a number of factors, mostly embedded in human behavior or attitude, vehicle factors, as well as environment on road factors. There are no fatalities on Thursday when traffic volumes reached the peak. However, they spiked on Friday between 18 hours and 22 hours when people had reached their destinations, were indulging in weekend festivities that include alcohol consumption. One of the major disturbing elements emerging from the information gathered thus far is the vulnerability of the pedestrians and passengers. At least 35% of people who died on the roads are pedestrians. Their vulnerability manifests itself in the following ways: drinking and walking, including jaywalking, crossing the road at dangerous points, informal settlements situated alongside busy roads and intersections, like here in the N1. If you drive between the N1 going down to Bloemfontein, there are people who think that from the side of Orange Farm, it is a quick catch to cross over the road. And sometimes they get fatalities out of that because the road is quite busy and the cars are moving quite faster. Walking on and crossing of highways and failure to wear visible clothing at night. Another observation we have made is that palisade fences and walls intended to stop pedestrians from entering freeways are being vandalized and broken down, increasing risk of pedestrian fatalities. This has been the case on the stretch of road where we are today. Like I've said, if you look at the N1 going down to Bloemfontein on Orange Farm, that place, I mean, the fencing of it was long time ago vandalized. But if you also cross the other side of Limpopo, N1, going to Limpopo on the side of Hammanskraal, there is a crossover there, but people most of the time undermine it. And even here, if you look, there is a crossover just behind you. And that shows connecting the communities from this side to that other side. But most of the time, it gets to be ignored because you think that you can beat the speed of the cars. But when you are drunk, alcohol can distort your speed because you will think that you are faster. And it catch up with you because alcohol have actually taken over. This has been the case on the stretch of roads where we are in today. The figures for this past Easter long weekend indicate that our efforts in law enforcement are yielding some positive results. They continue to yield positive results. They also demonstrate that our messages are reaching the targeted audience. And the majority of road users are heeding our call to make road safety their personal responsibility. But over and above that, the biggest challenge for us is to rely on law enforcement. And that is why you see we have introduce body cams to undermine fraudulent activities and corruption on the part of police officers taking bribes, but at the same time, the police not occupying the areas of deployment and visibility on the freeways and the highways in our country. According to the preliminary figures, 189 crashes were recorded, resulting in 235 fatalities nationwide. The provincial breakdown is as follows. Eastern Cape, 22 crashes and 27 fatalities, meaning 27 people died in the whole of the Eastern Cape this Easter. Free State, we had 8 crashes and 13 fatalities. Gauteng, we had 30 crashes and 36 fatalities. KwaZulu-Natal, we had 42 crashes and 54 fatalities. Limpopo, we had 27 crashes and 34 fatalities. Mpumalanga, we had 15 crashes and 18 fatalities. Northern Cape, we had 6 crashes and 7 fatalities. Northwest, we had 15 crashes and 20 fatalities. Western Cape, we had 24 crashes and 26 fatalities. For purpose of proper analysis, we have compared the 2021 figures to the 2019 statistics. We have not taken the 2020 figures into consideration because that was an abnormal period characterized by a hard lockdown which restricted interprovincial travel and movement between districts. We compare apples with apples and bananas with bananas. We can't compare apples with bananas because in that instance will make a serious distortion. So you would have seen that in terms of the NCCC and cabinet decision that people were allowed to travel interprovincial, and we have spoken about the volumes on our roads that you would have yourselves witnessed during this period, and therefore that means traveling was high, even though the religious pilgrimages did not actually happen because of the decreased numbers. But traveling on the road and local tourism and visiting families was on a high. Therefore, in 2019, which is our comparison of 2020 to 2019, there were 193 crashes, which resulted in 260 fatalities. This means that we have made headway in reducing the number of crashes in general and fatalities in particular. You will have seen that in the provinces, the number of crashes have gone down during this period. And the number of fatalities, province by province breakdown, during this weekend also went down. The number of crashes have been reduced by 2.1%, while fatalities came down by 9.6%. This is despite the fact that there is growth in both the population size in general and the vehicle population size in particular. The Northern Cape, Free State, KwaZulu-Natal, and Northwest recorded increases in fatalities, while declines were recorded in all other 5 provinces. It is, however, concerning to note that the number of pedestrians who died on the roads this year was higher compared to 2019. Pedestrian fatalities increased by 5%, from 30% to 35% compared to the 2019. We have observed that about 6% of pedestrian fatal crashes occurred between midnight and 2 a.m. in the morning, when people were moving around in violation of COVID-19 curfew. Passenger fatalities declined from 38% to 34%, as there were not major crashes involving 5 or more deaths in a single accident. Deaths among motor vehicle drivers and cyclists remained unchanged. They remain around 30% and 1% respectively. These results reflect the success of our relentless and tireless campaign of 365 days, wherein we have made road safety a constant project and not a once-off exercise targeted only for peak periods. But this also is about law enforcement intervention. So if law enforcement officers are failing us on the ground, it means the driver is escaping, you know, like that, because he or she knows that I can get drunk, there is no law enforcement, and even if I'm caught, there will not be any consequences. So that is why we introduced the innovation of body cams to record, as you have seen with the launch. When the Deputy Minister launched the campaign, you would have seen the introduction of the body cams. So that is going to be intensified going forward as part of our efforts, so that as and when you are stopped as a motorist, the body cam will register that. And should there be any other thing that seeks to undermine that, it will be registered in the ops room. And there will be consequences for that officer who would have not followed the law to the latter. The decline in both crashes and fatalities recorded is an indication that we're making progress towards achieving the 2030 global target of having road fatalities. Naysayers have been quick to suggest that South Africa is at the bottom of the class for road safety. These suggestions have relied on limited data and questionable research methodology, bringing to question the credibility of their findings. I've seen in the social media reports over the weekend that were saying there were 70 crashes. You may be mixing crashes with fatalities, because once you have recorded crashes, you must then begin to say how many people have died on the road. So if you transmit that information as it is, not backed up by data, you will then confuse the whole society about the whole question about fatalities on the road. These suggestions relied on limited data and questionable research methodology, bringing into question the credibility of their findings. Others have been quick to point out empirical evidence that suggests that we are far from the bottom of the class. I must, however, hasten that we are still a long way from where we want to be. But the strides we continue to make and will undoubtedly yield tangible results. In doing so, we must not claim easy victories. We must record progress, but at the same time, we must equally record that there is still a lot of work that needs to be done to bring these numbers down. It is through collaboration with civil society and embracing behavioral change by road users that will make a telling difference. Our relative success can be attributed to early preparations with education and awareness campaigns in communities, increased visibility of law enforcement officers, stakeholder involvement, and a high-profile media campaign. No doubt that the media plays a pivotal role in terms of bringing awareness. But nobody on the road can say is not aware about the road safety campaign in South Africa today. If the law does not bite, this will be business as usual. And that is why we are embarked on efforts to basically tighten our laws to ensure that the laws do bite and the road users and motorists are held accountable in this particular regard. You will go to the US because you like to compare South Africa with the United States, whereas we live in a third world and we're a developing country. Because in our country, we've got both the features of a developed world and a developing nation. We tend to confuse. You will hear South Africans speaking, in Australia, things are not done like this. To reach the standards of Australia, we will have to take strides to get there. And because of our own nature, of our own economy, and all of that. So in this particular instance, if you go to these developed nations, you will never find motorists being reckless and drinking and driving. Why? Because the laws do bite. So we need to compare ourselves with Botswana. You will not drink and drive in Botswana. Yeah, just next door in Botswana. Samo tlhapelwa ko koloing ko Botswana o tla ba itse sentle. A gona motho o tlhapelwa mo koloing ko Botswana, because Botswana's laws are tight. The same as criminality in Botswana. You cannot just, you remember what happened with some of our artists who went to Botswana and committed a culpable homicide. We nearly lost them because Botswana is tough, very tough when it comes to law enforcement. As much as it's a small economy, but we've got a lot to learn from Botswana before we compare ourselves with America and the United Kingdom. Just next door here. They're doing a superb job when it comes to law enforcement. Our resolved success, like we said, can be attributed to education and a high-profile media campaign. There were 336 roadblocks conducted this Easter. 100,078 vehicles were stopped and checked. 32,070 traffic fines were issued. 823 vehicles were discontinued. 782 vehicles were impounded. Up until we get to a stage that when you are drunk behind the vehicle, it will lead you to jail, we will never see change. Up until you know that if you are drunk and you are found by the traffic officers, it's not just a fine. We'll continue to see this carnage. That driving behind the wheel can lead you to 6 months in jail. We will never change the paradigm that we're serious about this. Because it is known, you get drunk, you blow, and then if you are above this percentage, you get a fine, and that is it. Only if you kill a person, you'll be charged with culpable homicide, and then you can land in jail. That's when it is been taken serious. So our laws must bite. 438 motorists were arrested for driving under the influence of alcohol. 112 motorists were arrested for excessive speeding. 28 motorists were arrested for inconsiderate, reckless, and negligent driving. And 2 law enforcement officers, a traffic officer and a police captain, were arrested for bribery and corruption. The high number of vehicles discontinued, drunken driving, and speeding arrests made reflect the success of the use of technology to improve traffic policy. The mobile vehicle testing stations assisted in the identification and removal from the roads of vehicles that could potentially have caused major crashes. The evidential breath alcohol testing technology helped to arrest motorists who were driving under the influence of alcohol, while high-speed vehicles fitted with high-tech vehicle identification systems ensured the arrest of those who were driving at an excessive speed. The collective and collaborative efforts of our stakeholders, such as Santaco, Distel, and Aware.org, have paid off remarkably. The fact that there were no major crashes involving minibus vehicles is a vehicle of the success of Operation Hlokomela conducted by the taxi industry. The Road Traffic Management Corporation, RTMC, working with provinces and municipalities, will ensure the full deployment and utilization of technology, including the body cameras, to improve traffic policing and fighting corruption. The RTMC will also ensure that the National Road Traffic Law Enforcement Code is implemented to bring about a greater level of uniformity in the way that traffic law enforcers operate. Somebody was asking me on Twitter a question about when was the tender of body cams issued and all of that, it was a demonstration of where we are going. So if you want and you want to eat, I think you must watch the space when Makosini and the municipalities are going to embark on this in terms of body cams, and you've got the capacity you want to compete. Minister does not issue. I only issue policy direction. I don't issue tenders. Policy direction is that police officers in the country must be fitted with body cams so as to minimize corruption. And I've seen that it does wonders in the developing countries that I've visited, and I've seen police officers, not only traffic officers, police officers fitted with body cams. And those of you who are on DSTV, full bouquet, and then you will see that there is a crime watch program there. You see police officers with body cams. So you don't have to travel to America. You can see it there on DSTV. Full bouquet, full body cams officers. What does it do to reducing criminality and corruption among officers? On behalf of the shareholders committee, comprising all transport and community safety MECs in all the provinces, I congratulate all our law enforcement officers in all spheres of government, the South African Police Service, emergency medical services, our private sector partners, and road safety activists for a job well done. The nation is indebted to you for your tireless efforts, and the media for spreading the word and even highlighting things that sometimes they take time to get to us in terms of accidents and fatalities. We also wish to thank the media who have partnered with us in spreading the word and encouraging responsible behavior. Please continue working with us to help fight this scourge. Most of all, thank you to the millions of South African road users who headed the message of road safety, and we urge them to continue to be road safety ambassadors. To those who are still refusing to comply, your days are numbered. It is just a matter of time before we catch you and remove you from our roads, for you are a danger to yourselves and society at large. We express our sincere and heartfelt condolences to the families of those who lost their lives, and a speedy recovery to those who sustained injuries. We believe that some of these accidents, from those who have survived, we know that they could have been avoided if we took responsibility as drivers on the road by behaving responsibly. When you are tired, taking long trips, know that you have to relax. When you are drunk, walk away from a vehicle. Even if it's a Ferrari, you want to show people that you have come from Johannesburg. You have worked very hard. You've got a Ferrari. In the villages, you want to show them. Please, once you arrive in the village safe and sound, leave it. Just park it in front for showcase. And they only drive when you are sober. That's what responsible use is all about. We express our gratitude to everybody. Together we are striving to make South African roads safer. I thank you.
Thank you so much, Minister Mbalula. Ladies and gentlemen, here's an opportunity for you to now engage with the statistics. I do believe you do have a soft copy of the address that the Minister has just spoken to at the moment. Remember that the Minister is accompanied by the board chairperson, the CEO, the MMC is also here with us. So some of the questions he may defer to them. I'm going to ask my colleague Dineo to just wave so that you see where she is, Journos. I'm going to ask that you look behind you. She's right in the middle there. If you have a question, if you can walk up to her and ask. We're just trying to minimize the passing on of the roving mic, and by doing so, eliminate some contact as well. So I'm going to ask that you just walk towards Dineo. She'll assist with the microphone, and go ahead, introduce yourself and ask the question.
Thank you very much, Matlako Komane, SABC News. I just wanted to find out, Minister, how far, is there legislation that you're working on or some sort of plan in terms of the 0% alcohol limit in terms of drivers on the road? Is it something that you're still working on? Thank you.
Thank you so much. Linda?
Linda, News from Africa. Minister, your concerns around the increase in the number of pedestrians that are losing their lives on the roads. I mean, in terms of plans to ensure that we improve infrastructure, because you say these people lose their lives on their way to access cities where their dreams may be realized. What are you going to do to improve infrastructure so that these cities are clear? Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if we can change location or position a little bit because the mic is struggling to connect to the speaker there. I think that should be better. Lindo, I'm going to ask you to come a little bit closer in that case. Thank you.
Hello, Sanbon. Lindo Gushekulu from ENCA. Perhaps just to add on my colleague from SABC's question there. In terms of the ARTO demerit system, we know there were delays and all of that. Perhaps just an update on that. And Minister, I'm sorry, but also you had promised when you were at the Pretoria station about an update on e-toll, saying you'll be calling the biggest press conference ever before the end or the beginning of the new financial year. And I think we're there now. Just an update on that one as well. But also just as the last question relevant to this particular day, in terms of the number, the 100,000 that we've seen on many of the routes to other provinces, what is the usual number as compared to what we've seen now? Just to get a sense of the numbers that are being reflected today. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So that was after e-tolls and the numbers in comparison today. I'm going to ask, Minister, with your permission, that we perhaps start with the advocate to just take one or two of those ones, especially the operational questions. I think you can address them, and the Minister will close for this particular round of questions. The advocate.
Thank you, colleagues, Minister and MMC and the chairperson. The matter that is relating to the ARTO rollout, I do believe that the Minister will give us a date as to when it's going to be rolled out, but what we can confirm is that the state of readiness, it's now almost 90% to deal with that process, and indeed we just wait for the cut-off date. You will recall that the Minister had promised that 2021 will be the implementation date. We're just awaiting the date. So stay comfortable that the ARTO is going to be rolled out this year. The system mechanics and the back offices issues have now been complied and completed. What is the numbers that I expected? The Minister was very clear in relation to the comparison between 2019 and 2020. Ordinarily, we have seen the number that has grown despite the other years. If you recall, in 2019, the pilgrimage that particularly resulted in the ZCC had the highest number, but we never had that number this year, but the number had grown up to 149, which far surpasses the ordinary number that we normally get in those days. The same, the traffic that has gone to the coast, you will then realize that it has gone beyond 164. It has increased ordinarily to what we have. We have around 120 during those 4 days that we have. So there has been a significant growth. Similarly, the road to the Western Cape through the Free State has also increased. Your N6 and your N8, as well as your N12 and N14 that has gone beyond the 14,000 that is our mark that we normally have. We can just even give figures that even on Monday, the numbers that were coming from Limpopo on the N1 were so much congested to such an extent that you would have guessed that we had also the church service at Moria. So it therefore gives us a number of increasing volumes of vehicles on the N1, N1 South, N1 North, N3, N2, as well as N4 to Mpumalanga. Those were the highest that we have seen ever since we're dealing with the Easter issues. I think I've covered those, Minister.
Thank you very much, CEO. I don't know, is Linda, SABC, infrastructure. What are we going to do? We have an excellent infrastructure. If you look at this road, from Bay Bridge past Limpopo, Johannesburg, Free State, all the way to Cape Town, and you split in the Free State, the other part goes to Port Elizabeth. You are free. It's a freeway. State of the art. The best road you can ever imagine. You look at the N3, it's the best. We don't have potholes here. If there are potholes, we close them quick. Now, what you must understand is that accidents do occur even in straight and well-maintained roads like the national roads. If you look at the road that account for many fatalities, which is a hotspot, it is a road that was taken by National between Botshabelo going to Lesotho from Bloemfontein. Accident just happened there in the open road, well-maintained, national road. And some of the accident happened in regional roads and local roads. Now, I've heard people arguing about road maintenance and potholes. We do have potholes, lack of road maintenance at local level. We do have challenges in some of the regional roads where you find that some of the roads that were supposed to be built and completed have not been completed. As the Department of Transport, we allocate provincial road maintenance grant to the provinces. It is expected that the provinces will utilize that money to maintain the roads. I get calls, I get social media people showing me that potholes as big as like this, not been maintained. Now that money is meant to basically maintain the roads. But you will know that some of our roads have been badly affected recently by the storm and the disaster that we have had. But to a certain extent, because road maintenance did not happen during the pandemic. Even in Johannesburg, MNC,
there's a lot of
potholes. I say so as a driver. At night when I drive, I see these potholes, which must be fixed. Meaning, we must have a hotline. And it must not even be a hotline. A councillor in his own street must be able to see potholes. And they must be closed down as we deal with the entirety of the road maintenance. Because you can have a pothole, and a pothole can lead you to a dangerous accident. So infrastructure is there, and we are developing infrastructure. Most of you see me every day. We are opening projects that we started 5 years ago, some of which we started in 2005. We are opening them today in the successive administration. I just took over the Moloto Road, the Death Road. I know the people of Moloto want a train, which we promised them. And I've explained to them what's happening with that train. When I went there to launch the transfer of the regional road of Moloto to National Road, is now in the hands of SANRA. I signed with Premier Makura, it's done. SANRA is busy there with specifications and everything else. It is a project that is going to create more than 12,000 jobs over a period of 4 years. By that time, I will not be Minister of Transport, maybe. If I'm blessed, I will still be there to see the work I started. The work I'm finishing now was started by Jeff Radebe, by Spundebel. Some of the quick wins are the things that we do, like we're going to do paving the roads in the rural areas and building bridges with SANRA. Now, these are the things in terms of infrastructure that we are doing. But our roads are being developed, and some of the projects are huge and are long term, and some of which we are launching them now. Muloto, I'm giving you an example because it's one of those. It's a huge project that connects Mpumalanga and as well as Limpopo and coming to the Gauteng Lake, which is the biggest killer road going to KwaMhlanga in KwaNdebele. And that is the road that we are developing. So we allocate money and we expect provinces to deal with this matter of upgrading regional roads. But we know that in certain instances we've got to intervene as national. But we don't have endless money that is sitting there to be spent for people who have failed to follow what needed to be followed and account properly for resources. So we've got this provincial road infrastructure grant that we provide for the provinces, and we expect it to be used particularly for that purpose of road maintenance. So in terms of the national roads, the infrastructure is superb. I think you enjoy driving from here to Limpopo, except on Friday. And except this Easter, you see there is congestion. But every Friday, what we have seen this Easter, it's happening every Friday. Limpopo people are going. If you can ask some of the traffic cops more, would say, "Likai mukoni, artua, utswakwa, ko Limpopo." Babangata batho ba Limpopo ba ba berekang ka mo. Ba dula ko Alexander bongata ba bona. And o ba bona ka Friday ya ba khuphuka. Gore no ha ba bua hae ba re ya magweng. Yeah. So that road is open and we maintain it very well because it's a busy road. Even the N1 from here to Cape Town. In terms of the legislation, from the 3rd of May, it's public hearings. Remember, legislation is not designed by the minister. We pass our comments through cabinet then send them to the legislature, and then it's open for public hearings, and thereafter it will come back and be voted into law. Our intention, which we have now sent, we're going to send to Parliament, and Parliament have already received 182 submissions. Our intention and what we are proposing is 0.0%. There is a big debate about that. And don't stay away from that debate. We believe that when you get behind the wheel, it must be 0.0. There is all sorts of arguments. What do you say about somebody who have taken, what is this? Cough mixture. Ufuna a cough mixture behind the car. Jägermaster, whatever that you can call it. Ufuna. Because now the cough mixture, you're not supposed to be on the road. And then there are all sorts of arguments. But they will be tested, even scientifically. There will be submissions and debates around that. It's a big debate in the country. The problem with South Africans, we no longer want to debate since Twitter arrived. Because Twitter is the simplest way of insulting each other and not debating cogently. Even if you try to be reasonable in Twitter, it's people who are depressed because they just want to get to the point. Back to a quick, and put you aside. Yeah, Mbalula. And that is why Nam can dibabiza ngalondlela sometimes, which I don't have to. But you are being insulted by somebody who's sitting MMC just next to you, maybe you. Yeah. Unana robotlali ku bone mo press conferencing here. Katikiri wa kwa MMC uduti mo pilakam. So Twitter must protect us against vandalism. You are being vandalized and all of that. At least the media, when they report things, we can take them to the ombudsman. We can hold them accountable, even though it's not sufficient. Because we people, we have rights. But in front of these people of Twitter, we don't have rights. Somebody can just drop a big allegation about you, and then you are not protected. So we expect legislation, and that is what we have done. Lindo, in terms of e-tolls, it is going to be a big press conference, isn't it? Whether e-tolls will stay or not is going to be a big press conference. Not because it is my liking, because e-tolls is a big issue in this country. And I can't resolve the issue of the e-tolls alone. I must resolve it with Treasury. And I must resolve it with Cabinet. So I've said to you, I thought by now, in the 1st of April, before the new financial year, which begins the 1st of April, we will have finalized that. Unfortunately, I can't make pronouncements before Cabinet does so. So that press conference will be bigger than the Cabinet press conference. I can rest you assured, because that day we'll be talking e-tolls. Whether in favor or not, or whatever, the middle road or not middle road, it's a very important issue which I cannot just huff and puff about it and give clues. People have been protesting, fighting about it. There are implications on the other that we must look at in terms of the economy, in terms of the implications. We want to build roads. You're talking about the infrastructure. The roads that you see that are so beautiful in Gauteng, M1 North, M1 South, and all of that going down the N1 through to Pretoria, is because of they've been subsidized by you. Now, once you stop subsidizing those roads, then Sanral will not be able to maintain these beautiful roads that you see now. We will not be able to build new roads. And that is why we're talking about the user paid principle. And what you people of South Africa were challenging was that user pay principle, in how it is implemented, it is problematic. So we have been looking at that. And yet when we are looking at that, the economy is what it is. We're basically facing the invincible war. It is a war. You're going to see it, not with the rebels. After war, that buildings would have come down. You would have seen it. You will see the war and its effects with how many people are in the streets not working. Why angabanjwa la muntu la uyasdisturb? You will see it when you go to Sandton. Hotels closed down, restaurant closed down, and that's it. In Durban, Hilton Hotel closed down completely. And then you only have Oyster Box and the Beverly Hills and other hotels in the front and all of that. But they are suffering because there is lack of tourism. People don't travel that much. It's only now in Easter that people were in Durban. But under normal, you'll find people in those places. But the question is, traveling is no longer normal, because as you travel, you increase the numbers, you mix with people, there are dangers that you can get COVID, and this COVID kills. You have lost people in the media, we have lost loved ones in the families. We, as individuals who have been affected by this COVID, some of you and many of us are survivors of this COVID. Our economy is in a state of shambles. Not because we have found a new pretext called